Hello and welcome back to Hold On I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our review of UFC 294, which is headlined by Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski for the lightweight title. As per usual, I'm joined by my regular co-host Tom Ballum. Tom, fresh out the oven, just watched UFC 294. We're hyped. We stopped texting each other during the co-main and main event. That's how locked in we were. Initial feelings on the card, having just watched it.
Well, having just watched it, the last fight that is fresh in my mind is the fall of Alexander the Great Volkanovski. It's a hard sport, Joe. 20 fights, looked invincible, at least invincible to being finished, and it all ends with a thudding head kick in the first round that really sucked the air out of my lungs. One of those like oof, like
oof my own
punch. Like Victor Henry, I'm there with you, brother. I felt the same pain when I watched Volkanovski go down. That's right at the top of my mind right now.
Right. Well,
a lot more than that to get into.
Well, let's dive in. We're coming off the high board. We're diving into the pool. Main event: Islam Makhachev retains the lightweight title via KO over Alexander Volkanovski. He got him with the high kick from the southpaw stance, having landed the body kick from southpaw, went up top. Volkanovski staggered, fell down, and then frankly, not needed ground and pound. The ref could have stepped in at that point, I feel like, and it would have been a fine stoppage, but gets the ground and pound finish as well from there. Islam Makhachev.
Brutal ground and pound.
Brutal ground and pound. I mean, I was bracing myself for heavy note-taking. I was, super locked in. And then when he landed it, I jumped up from my sofa and squealed. Because, you know what, Tom? We can break it down. We can be analytical. We can talk about the narratives. But when it comes down to it, when you see a knockout that spectacular over someone that good, it gets the heart pounding. Makhachev with a tremendous finish of Volkanovski. And kind of finishes that rivalry.
Yeah, it's pretty definitive. Very rare to get a third shot. And if you do, there are question marks still remaining to be answered. I'm thinking about Volkanovski versus Holloway. Obviously got there over 3 fights. More convincing every time. I don't know how much more convincing you can get than a first round stoppage like that, Joe. Makhachev looked powerful, crisp out there. I've got to say, rehydrated Makhachev is the worst kind of Makhachev because he was carrying some power, Joe, that wasn't quite there. I tell you what, I really noticed that tie clinch that Makhachev had Volkanovski in. Wow, Volk was really struggling to get out of that. He was locked down there, and I really felt like there was a strength and power mismatch in this first round.
Yeah, I think that was pretty evident. Although I will give Volkanovski some credit, because I was, when Makhachev went for the takedown, he sort of went in. He had to sort of double leg, and Volkanovski pulled him up, and he gave this thing of you ain't getting that on me. Went to the cage, backed up to the cage, and then Volkanovski went from the overhook and the underhook, and he got the overhook and went to the body lock, and then turned Makhachev to the cage and started pulling away at his leg like he did in the first fight. And in the first fight, when he did that, he then separated and then unloaded with strikes from there. But with this time, Makhachev just seemed to be happy to stay in that clinch position up against the cage, because as you saw, that sort of the hands sort of slipped up the back, went into the tie clinch from there, and there were some knees in there that I actually think were kind of the real setup to that KO finish. Do you know what I mean? It was it was the wear that came to the tear.
There was another intervening moment between that sequence that you're discussing there, which also carried some weight for me. When Volkanovski had turned Makhachev back onto the cage, at which point you said Makhachev was quite comfortable there, of course, working on his tie clinch, it emerged. Volkanovski thought about a knee up top. He thought about trying to pull Makhachev down to his knee, and then he realised that's a long way down.
Yes.
And it kind of just really underlined the size mismatch between these two guys. And again, that goes into the same box with the strength and also power component. The size of Makhachev, these guys do not belong in the same weight class. I'm sorry, Alex, you thrilled us, but I just think it's a bridge too far.
Really?
Alexander Volkanovski.
You think 155 in general is too far for Volkanovski?
No, I think Makhachev's a big lightweight. I think he could fight at 165. He's another one of those.
That was the exact one I was going to say. He'd be the 165 champ.
Yeah.
He'd be the 165 champ.
He's right there. He's right there. For now, as a young guy, ultra disciplined, he's still able to make weight, but we know he suffers, and we know he needs all this extra time to rehydrate and, become completely oversized. I don't want to be the one to say weight bully. That accusation has been thrown out there, but he's a very, very big lightweight, and Volkanovski is a featherweight.
Yes,
so
he's a featherweight who can obviously fight at lightweight.
Because he's so good.
Yes,
because he's so damn good.
Yeah, the skill of Volkanovski makes up for the size disparity, and actually, I think against most of the top lightweights, and I'm talking about the guys that are ranked in the top 5, I would pick Volkanovski over all of them because of that skill quality. Maybe Gaethje's the one. Dariush. Well, it might be Sarukian soon. With Dariush.
Yeah, I don't fancy Volkanovski against Sarukian, and I really question him against Dariush as well.
Oliveira.
Yeah, Poirier and Oliveira. I would definitely look at Volkanovski there.
Gaethje's an interesting one, though, isn't he? Is this sort of like...
It is.
Yeah, it is. Let's actually go back to the finish itself, Tom, and what Makhachev did. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, well, Joe, I think we're on to a very interesting subject already there, and that's the fact that we're excited for Volkanovski matchups. It's not over. Not over. Don't be sad. Don't cry.
Yes.
There's a lot of potential for him at lightweight, but... Clearly, the man was ready to get straight back to business and be ready for a featherweight matchup in January. His mentality is unvanquished. He'll take more than a head kick knockout in front of God knows how many thousands of people of a different denomination who don't like you and are very happy to see you gone.
Yes,
Volk is really just resolute. So,
do you worry for him now again in a Topuria matchup?
Oh. There's more on it. Joe, I mean, we've seen some steep come-offs in this sport. Suddenly, Volkanovski's 35 and coming off a head kick loss against a young killer in a Topuria. It's a big fight to go into.
Yeah, man. That's
you'd fancy...
Sorry, go on.
You'd fancy a zombie or a Dan Hooker. Some nonsense right now if you're Volkanovski. I think anybody but Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, man. This could be set up perfectly for Topuria now. If Volkanovski is set on fighting in January, which if I'm his coaches, I'm like, yeah, you ain't fighting in January. Like, you are not going to fight then. March at the earliest, particularly against someone like Topuria. And also, the UFC, please do not do an interim title fight between Topuria and Holloway. That would be such a terrible idea. Please just leave.
Just imagine, is it if Holloway wins that?
Oh my God!
Where are we then?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't do it again. I can't go there.
But give Volk what he wants, which is a clean shot at Topuria. That's all I want. He's earned that. He's earned his right to demand that. Give him that. I worry about that fight being in January. Anyway, let's go back to the finish itself. Do you know what was actually really impressive about it was that actually Volk didn't do anything wrong. Like, he had the right hand up.
His guard was there. Yeah.
The guard was there, and the left hand came across to block the body. So, like, he did the right thing, but Makhachev just blasted through it, and
it was just a little bit over the top as well, wasn't it? He really caught him flush on the top of the head.
Yeah, on the temple.
Top of the side of the head.
Yeah, on the temple. I don't even think Volk could have really put his hand any further else without it being exposed to another type
Joe,
of shot.
I tell you what it is.
What?
If Volk had lightweight hands, he'd have blocked that shot.
Oh.
He's just missing, a little bit of hand length.
Right.
And he'd be fine.
Yeah, if he had those huge Dustin Poirier hands, those big mitts, maybe he would have been able to block it. Look, I mean, there is a bit of somewhat revisionism coming from people already about this, going like, I told you a southpaw kicker would have been the issue for Volkanovski. But some people have actually come with the receipts. and I will give him some credit, including Ryan A. Wag MMA on Twitter, who retweeted something he posted in 2019, where he said, "I think going southpaw would have been a good idea for Max from the beginning. Volk's game seems like it would be a tougher to play with the increased distance between their rear hands." That is tremendous analysis from the Max Holloway fight. The problem is that Islam Makhachev is not known for the striking complexity needed for something like that. And really a plan as simple as body, head did for Volkanovski. Like,
let me just throw out another name who's called for this type of finish against Volk. Mighty Mouse. He said that directly. Yeah, during his analysis of the first fight, he said that head kicks, it's there, and we saw the damage that Islam was doing with the body kick in the first fight.
Right.
We referenced that. Yeah, it's a big weapon for him, that open side kick as a southpaw, and
See, now what I thought might have been an issue for Volkanovski is that when he's standing orthodox and then he throws the right hook to then switch into southpaw, that the left straight then, if Makhachev pulls away a little bit, he can sort of leave Volkanovski hanging in no man's land and the left straight could come over the top of it. But obviously, if you can throw the left straight, you can also throw the left southpaw head kick as well from there. So really, like, is this now something that people are going to be looking at? Is fight southpaw, wait for him to throw and switch, and then throw a left straight over the top of his hook? Because it could be there.
Let me just pause you for a second, Joe. Fight southpaw is not.
Yes,
not
of course. Sorry,
everybody
yes.
can do to that level, to that level, and especially with those weapons that Makhachev has. So I don't necessarily think it will be something we see. I don't think Volkanovski has been cracked. I don't think he's been fraud checked.
Oh God, no. I mean,
but there are men with certain tools who yeah, of course they're going to take something from this fight.
By the way, two thoughts that just popped into my head is that, do you know the fighter that I thought of who completely changed to a new stance for a rematch and it worked entirely? Was Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena 2, where she just moved southpaw and just hit her with a right hand lead hand hook and just got Pena every single time. Obviously, which then shows the disparity in quality. And also, what was the other thing I was thinking about was that actually, if he does stay down at featherweight, which I think he will for his next fight with Topuria, is that Topuria is an orthodox fighter with a sort of very low stance. And I think now, having wrestled guys that are up at a higher weight class and wrestled Makhachev at a higher weight class and done well in the first fight against him, and even in a certain extent this one, with denying the takedown, getting the body lock, turning him against the cage, having him in a good position there up until that tie clinch. He didn't fight the tie clinch, that was the thing. Makhachev slipped it in there pretty much no problemo, and got Volk out of there with the knees. I think that Topuria, whilst being a incredibly difficult matchup, and particularly off this sort of finish, maybe if you look at the fundamentals of the matchup, might not be so bad for Volkanovski as what will probably be his swan song at 145.
Let's look at Islam Makhachev.
What's next?
Atop the mountain, yeah.
What do you feel like next? What do you think?
I mean, the UFC, of course, wanted to make this fight against Oliveira. That hasn't been diminished in any way. We haven't lost something. However, perhaps Oliveira, in fighting, 5 rounds, heavy sparring, so close to the event, might have earned some bad notes in the Dana White Book of Grudges for now. I mean, discussion about Gaethje, I don't know if I'm personally that enthralled by it. It can come.
But Gaethje
can't beat it.
He can't beat him.
That's the thing.
Come on,
I'm not sure Charles can, but there's still a bit more intrigue on it than Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of the guys at lightweight, who are the ones that could really beat him, who are in a ranked position? I mean, Sarukian is the obvious one. Even Dariush to a certain extent, because with heavy hands and good grappling. I know you're the Gamrot dick rider of this podcast. You know, every podcast needs one. You know, I know you'd probably say Gamrot. Other wrestlers at lightweight that are ranked, Grant Dawson, but obviously he's got the chin of a 70-year-old woman, so we can't have him in there. Fighting Makhachev now after that Bobby Green knockout loss.
Well,
so
let me just issue a little correction for you there. Grant Dawson got dumped out of the rankings. You don't lose the Bobby King Green and stay in the rankings.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
So it's slim pickings. Look, I think it has to be Oliveira, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is there a matchup coming in the near future that can change that? No, we don't have Poirier booked. We don't have Dariush booked. I would say
Dariush is booked.
You know,
he's booked against Sarukian for December 2nd, I believe.
Oh my God, the winner of that fight for sure.
By the way, that's the co-main event of a fight night. The main event in the 5-round main event of a fight night is Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green. Have that make sense somehow.
I can't do it, Joe. I can't. I'm but a simple man.
Tom,
is an absolutely
sign off on
amazing matchup.
Sign off on Makhachev's next opponent.
Say again, sorry.
Sign off on
Makhachev's
next opponent. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, so I just want to say it's got to be the winner of that matchup. Sarukian versus Dariush.
Oh, really?
What a fight. You can't possibly tell me that Dariush dealing with Sarukian wouldn't be enough to give him a title shot. Oh my God, Joe, get serious.
For us?
Dariush?
Yes.
Yeah, for us. For us, the true arbiters of MMA.
What about Leon Edwards?
He has said he wants that fight. And Leon is fighting pretty soon against Colby. So, it's there. It's there. And honestly, I don't see Makhachev wanting to be that active myself. So.
Oh, what you mean? Only fighting once or twice a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that as well. And also, if they've got this Abu Dhabi deal, they got to roll out a Muslim champion or a Muslim title contender. Probably that's probably what they've asked for. No more Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. Give us this other stuff. Speaking of potential title contenders, at middleweight now, we have the number one contender apparently. Khamzat Chimaev defeats Kamaru Usman by decision in what was... I mean, this fight had movements, never mind rounds. It had massive shifts and changing of feelings and momentums moving up and down. But Tom, it's a simple question. How did you score it?
Yeah, let's get into it, Joe. I think we have to look at this together, round by round. First round, within 10 seconds, I believe, Chimaev shoots.
Yes.
Gets a little sniff of Usman's legs, and that's all she wrote from there, Joe. I mean, it was just a endless tide of momentum carrying Usman into ever worse positions.
Yeah.
Let's start to talk about some of those positions. What stands out to you?
There was do you know what was interesting? I messaged you during this fight, which was, it's actually great to see two wrestlers going at it in wrestling in the MMA context. Because we rarely see it. It's like two wrestlers cancelling each other out, so they'll have a mediocre kickboxing match. But this, they actually wrestled, and Chimaev got the better of Usman because he obviously instigated it first, got in deep on the takedown. The image that most interested me was Usman with his hands planted and his feet set, with Chimaev on his back, sort of like rocking him back down to the ground, to the position where he flattened him out for just about a moment before Usman changed the position and got a knee back up again. It was the most dominant position I've seen someone get in against Kamaru Usman. Like, striking or ground position. Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing is when...
yeah.
Go on, sorry.
Absolutely. No, there's no question in the dominance of that position, and the control he appeared to have there was absolute. But there were moments in that exact exchange where I thought Chimaev looked pretty high.
Yes.
Looked pretty high. And I didn't think Usman made much of that. You know, you see fighters sense that often when the opponent gets high and they start to kind of buck them and they encourage them forwards and escape out the back. Chuck them off. We've seen it time and again. And Chimaev was definitely high during that. But I think Usman was a little bit in firefighting mode. I think he wasn't the calm, controlled, and well-practiced Volkanovski in the Makhachev fight. I think Usman was coming in on 12 days' notice, hasn't been drilling somebody having his back, let alone Khamzat Chimaev, the crowd going crazy, you're out of your comfort zone. Never felt like this before in front of so many people. And I think Usman missed a step there, which I wouldn't really normally expect him to miss.
He hadn't drilled that position with Gilbert Burns in his training camp, obviously. Because, if he had been, I think he would have done a lot better in that position. And you saw that in the second round then, of when Usman denied the takedowns. He started. You could see kind of what his game plan was, which is keep it on the feet, and I think I can jab this guy up. I think I can beat him on the feet.
Certainly, I mean, obviously that game plan goes out the window when you get taken down in the first 10 seconds, and Usman should have seen that coming and should have been ready for it. But there are a few other moments to look at in that first round. Of course, Usman standing up on the verge of being choked out.
Yes.
And choosing the death of a warrior.
Yes. Madness, where it was Chimaev was on his back, Usman was standing up, and the choke was going in, and did Usman lift him up further and then throw themselves forward and they both landed head first into the mat? Am I right in thinking that he almost lifted Chimaev a bit higher up?
To get that extra little bit of momentum and try to absorb most of the damage on Chimaev's big dome instead of his own.
Wow.
He was not successful in that, by the way. They both clattered their face into the mat, Usman more so than Chimaev.
Yeah.
But what he did succeed in doing is breaking that choke and going on to survive the round. However, though, did he survive that round by a 10-8 margin or by a 10-9 margin?
You're asking the wrong man here, Tom. You know I don't give out 10-8s often. You know I want to see a man close to death if I'm going to give out a 10-8. It's a 10-9 for me, Tom.
Yeah, the damage wasn't there.
Wasn't there. There was good sub-attacks that got close but weren't really in. Wasn't enough ground and
you're not prepared to penalise Usman for slamming his own head on the mat. You're not going to give a 10-8 for that.
No, bruv. I give him a round of applause for trying to come up with the memest knockout or finish of a card which had plenty. I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, but
Usman would take it all home if he did it. But obviously, it succeeded, Joe.
Funniest card of the year. Funniest card of the year if Usman knocked himself out with that slam.
10-9 for me as well.
Yeah. Okay. Same. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Damage just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So we go into round 2 then. You've given a little reference of that already. Usman starting to find behind his jab. I wouldn't say he's backing up Chimaev. He's clearly nervous about being taken down again.
Yes.
Understandably.
Yes, indeed. There was also... Do you know what, when in our preview, when I said, what if Usman responded to Chimaev's wrestling with his own offensive wrestling? I don't think he had that in him on 12 days. He knows that would have exhausted him to have done something like that. I think offensive wrestling would have exhausted him and would have taken out from his striking. And you saw it, you started to see Usman settle into it when he started pumping out the jab, mostly from orthodox, because Usman's sort of known from switching and having good power jabs out of both stances. But he stayed mostly in orthodox. He did the sort of sweep of when Chimaev was throwing the sort of body kicks. He threw the sort of straight body kicks, more like the teep up the middle. But the most significant strike for me that Chimaev landed was the big southpaw body kick. But the thing that won the round for me was Usman's most successful strike, which was the really lovely long 1-2 that he landed, where he had Chimaev starting to turn a little bit, caught him slightly square, long 1-2, sort of cracked Chimaev, and for me that was the round-winning moment. So that's why I gave the second round to Usman.
We are unified in that feeling. Yeah, that straight left followed by a straight down the pipe. Nice right hand, set Chimaev back, and that was the definitive moment of the round. Then, of course, right at the end of the round, Usman's kind of armour did crack a little bit, and he got taken down.
Yeah.
but in quite hilarious fashion, just wrapped Chimaev up. Took one look at the clock, thought, all right, I've got 30 seconds to survive here.
Yeah.
How long can I hold him in this chest wrap for?
Yes.
And about 25 seconds is the answer to that. And nullified him. Not enough for Chimaev to do anything to get the round back.
No.
10-9, Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
Even going into the third round.
Yes, absolutely. Fine by me. Round 3. I think this is almost like a cultural debate for MMA this round, because there's been a bit of debate here about the whole damage over grappling, and they basically score grappling as its own reward, so they don't give it to you in the scoring of basically if you take someone down, you wrestle them down, that's the reward rather than giving you something on the judges' scorecards. But for me, I didn't see Usman landing anything of any significance in the same way he did in the second. Nothing more than Chimaev. Then Chimaev gets the takedown with a little bit of ground and pound, and then that flurry, at the end. Hold on. Let me finish.
You are provoking me, Joe. You're poking at me.
Listen, I've had 4 beers. All right, I'm cooking. Yeah. And then at the end, you know that mad flurry when they're doing the Max Holloway, Ricardo Lamas, point at the ground, let's do it. None of Usman's shots landed, and a few of Chimaev's did. Like, for me, there was to me, it was a Chimaev round.
Well, easy now. Let's look at this together, Joe. So, you're right. Nobody got anything off in that final flurry, but you missed one part in your summary, and that's that Usman got back up. He got back up,
sure,
and he started walking Chimaev down again. The momentum shifted. Chimaev had the momentum. Usman took it back. Didn't get anything off though. But still, there is one little distinction there.
I'm not going to give a round over a momentum shift though.
Absolute. Well, hold on. It depends what happens preceding that. And I think you undersold Usman there in the 2.5 minutes until he was taken down. I thought he got a lot off. I thought Chimaev was in trouble, actually. And I thought he was walking him down, laying his 1-2, working into his jab, and seeing nothing in return from Chimaev. You could hear the roar of the crowd. You could really feel the energy behind Usman. Honestly, I thought he was on his way to a stoppage, Joe, at that precise moment. Chimaev, I think he's gassed again. He looks great.
Yes.
He looks absolutely great. He looks so athletic. He doesn't look like he's gassed. But you have to read that.
No, he looked gassed.
Well,
when he had that takedown from...
He's not rocking from side to side. He's not like open-mouthed. The classic signs aren't there.
But he's got his own unique ones, where he kind of like... His shoulders don't bob at the same, tempo. His head doesn't duck around.
But... Yeah, and he starts like kind of like fainting, but like he's not really fainting with any like purpose because he wants to get strikes off. Yeah, he's kind of fainting just to stop you hitting it.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
that's his defense at that point.
That's exactly. It's just like maybe I will. Okay, well if I can keep getting him guessing,
exactly.
And at a certain point, Usman.
Joe,
I do give you credit there. Usman was like, I'm not buying on these feints so much anymore, and did proceed to start jabbing. Did start moving forward. Takedown from there for Chimaev.
Now let me pull it up for you. Let me pull it up for you there. We're talking about the strikes here. So in round 3, we're looking at 41 strikes to 34 in favour of Usman, and doubling him up for significant strikes, 22 to 13, and that's including some nonsense kind of ground and pound from Chimaev when he did have control after the takedown. I got to say, Joe, I scored the round for Kamaru Usman, 10-9.
Damn. Did you really?
Yeah. Leaving us with the winner of the fight, Kamaru Usman.
No,
I'm sorry. The commentary team seemed to know that Chimaev had won. John Anik, talked about
well done
Khamzat maintaining his...
Yeah, and well done to Kamaru giving it a good effort, but Khamzat has his winning thing.
But couldn't bring a halt to Khamzat's winning streak. No, I'm not having it. Kamaru won that third round. I think you put that in another context, other crowd, other judges. Like, I'm just scoring it as it is. Obviously, though, the most dominant round was the 10-8. Overall, if I score that fight at the end, I think Chimaev won it.
Yes.
But round by round,
yeah.
I got to
but that's how we have to score it. We can't do if this was under Pride rules. It's not under Pride rules.
So, do we have a winner in Kamaru Usman then?
10-point masters. No, Chimaev for me. I still gave Chimaev that third round. I thought the position as well.
If you take him down, you've got to land something.
He landed some
stuff. You
don't
get credit for takedown in itself.
He landed some stuff. I've got to say, there was quite a few moments, because when I'm watching a fight by myself and it gets to that sort of close round and I'm watching it super closely, there are points when I'm just like, miss, that shot missed, that missed as well, that one landed. I will watch it like that, which is very unpleasant for other people to watch with me, but there was quite a lot when Kamaru was throwing, and it was like stuff wasn't landing that clean. He didn't have a clean, huge shot in that round for me. So that's why. Hold on, and that is why I gave it to Chimaev with the takedown, with the somewhat not that great ground and pound, but that was there. Is why I gave it to Chimaev.
And I respect that, and of course there'll be other people out there who feel the same way. It's not a foolish opinion. I understand why you've reached it. However, again, just want to highlight 20 significant strikes landed to Chimaev's head. 20 versus only 9 coming back the other way.
By the way, these stats are never that accurate the night of. You tend to have to give it a day or two. So we'll see what the numbers are like in a couple days. You know what, Tom? I think this fight is perfect for me and you to do a live watch along, and we'll do a live commentary with it that we will upload maybe later this week. How about that for an idea? Throwing that at you right now. Bit of show prep for you live on the show. What do you think to that?
I gotta see some response here, Joe. I gotta see if I'm out on my own here. Hey. You know, I'm naked in the wind now. I'm but a candle.
We'll put it out there. We'll put it out there for people. See what they say.
Well, I just mean in terms of how other people saw this fight. That's something we could definitely explore.
I've not taken in any. I haven't seen any comments about it. I haven't gone on any Reddits.
Joe, let me tell you right now. Yeah. Most people are going to think Chimaev won that fight. You're not alone. All right. Don't worry about that. Now, look, I'll tell you what's coming up next, and that's another tinny for Big Joe. But
yes, I am drinking another can right now. What is next for Chimaev is a title fight.
Yeah, it's a title fight against Sean Strickland.
He has to get it done in one round.
Good luck, Sean.
He has to get it done in one round, otherwise he ain't winning it. He is.
Yeah.
When I was watching that first round, I was just like, thank God Leon didn't fight this guy. And then when I saw round 2 and 3, I'm like, Leon would have smoked this guy. Like, there's just... Like, I'm sorry, man. If this guy fought Usman at welterweight when Usman was the welterweight champion, Usman would have beat him. Like, Usman would have beaten him. Round 4 and 5 would have been
What about if we had 2 more rounds tonight, Joe?
Usman would have beaten him.
Yeah.
Usman would have beaten him.
It has to be 5 rounds. We talked about this already on the chat. Like, a fight of this magnitude, it has to be 5 rounds. Please scrap this nonsense about it needing to be a headliner or a title fight. If it's a proper fight with the biggest names, make it 5 rounds.
I know. They do it with, like, weird ones. Remember when they had Nate versus Leon as a 5-round fight? That was weird. RDA versus Moicano, when Moicano stepped in on short notice to replace Fiziev. It made sense. Rafael Fiziev versus RDA in a 5-round co-main event. Love it. This as a 5-round co-main event. Love it. 3 rounds. I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, I haven't had the full meal. Listen,
oh, for sure.
Listen.
For sure.
Let me hit you with this then. Strickland versus Chimaev. I mean, Sean Strickland, does he watch this fight and think he's got a chance against Chimaev?
Yes.
Because he's a mentally ill man. Okay, fair enough. But, like, as a fan base, do you think he has much of a chance against Chimaev?
I think he's got... I'll tell you what. If you gave me the matchup, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Khamzat Chimaev, I'd probably fancy Sean more against Chimaev than I do against Izzy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I really felt like Sean played into Izzy's strengths.
Oh.
And I was proven very wrong.
Yes.
So, you know, Viva Sean Strickland. Let's just say that. It's a bizarre matchup, but
I've got a game for you. I've got a game for you. I'm going to list the names of middleweight fighters, and I want you to tell me if Khamzat beats them in a 3-round fight. Okay, I'm going to go 3 rounds here. All right, Marvin Vettori.
No.
He doesn't beat him?
No. He's too durable. His cardio's too much, his pressure. No.
Sorry. Cannonier?
Yeah. Like, the takedown's too easy for Chimaev, is what you're saying. He can have it when he wants it.
Yeah, and after that Cannonier fight, I'm going to give it to Chimaev. What about Cannonier himself?
Yes.
Robert Whittaker. Oh, he's struggling. Listeners, he's struggling. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev, 3 rounds.
My beautiful boy, Joe. My beautiful boy.
What do you say?
Oh, the thing is, Whittaker, after that beating he took from Duplessis and the way that it happens, I just think that Chimaev can upset him in the same way and put him in a position of just mortal injury which he can't recover from. I'm favouring Chimaev.
Dricus Duplessis.
Which is This is a crazy world where
Dricus
I picked
Duplessis.
Marvin Vettori over Whittaker and anything. I mean, they both just explode into each other in the first round in just delicious carnage.
Yeah.
It's getting finished in the first, isn't it?
Who? Chimaev or Duplessis?
I'm having Chimaev again.
And then, last but not least, I'm going to make this one 5 rounds. Adesanya.
I'm having Izzy.
Oh, you said it, listeners. He said it. Well, we'll probably see it fairly soon once Chimaev beats Strickland. Anyway, Tom, let's move on to the featured fight of this card. Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker.
I want to make one last note on Usman.
Sorry, go on.
One last night. I don't think this diminishes him.
No.
He's still there. All right. Viva Kamaru Usman. And yes, so then we're looking at one of the most bizarre stoppages to a fight ever.
Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker fought to a draw via Johnny Walker not knowing where they were fighting and what round it was. So what happened was...
But he did know it was the desert.
Yeah.
Did know that.
So listeners, let's break this down here. Ankalaev, and this happened a few times on this card, Ankalaev is in that position, and you know the position, listeners. Fighter's got his knee on the ground, up against the cage. Fighter over him with the sort of back take. And then you know what's coming. It's the Piotr Jan special. The knee's coming up the middle. And Ankalaev knees Johnny Walker to the head. Ref separates them. Alright, fine. Okay. Brings in the doctor, who earlier that night had a shocker with the Basharat-Victor Henry fight. Where Basharat kicked Victor Henry with a low blow in the cup. Victor Henry is lying on the ground in agony. And the referee says, he didn't kick you in the cup, in the balls, he said. The doctor said this. He didn't kick you in the balls. This is a doctor. And Victor Henry said, yes, he did. He kicked me in the dick and balls. That is what he said. This is the same doctor who then comes in and says to Johnny Walker, where are we right now? What country are we in? And Johnny Walker's like, I know we're in the desert. And by the way, I think if he asked him this fight before he walked out, if he asked him this question, this fight wouldn't have happened. I don't think Johnny Walker knows where he is. Do you think he can say United Arab Emirates after he's been kneed in the head? Come on, son. Let's give him some credit. And then when he said, what round are we in? He didn't answer. Doctor calls it off under the concussion protocol. Sorry, it sounds like I've got one right now. Under the concussion protocol. And we learn nothing other than these two still wanted to fight each other, even when there was security guards holding them back. So I feel bad for Ankalaev.
Well, I'm sorry, was it an illegal knee or not?
It wasn't good.
It sounds pretty illegal to me. So no feeling sorry for Ankalaev. The man cannot help himself. We did note that in the pre-fight press conference, the big event for all the showbiz, all the big names, champions, former champions, people who have fought for the belt, Chimaev was definitely present, but Ankalaev was nowhere to be seen. They won't even give him a seat at the table, Joe.
No.
And you don't get it by kneeing Johnny Walker in the head. illegally.
What is up with Ankalaev getting stuck into these weird long feuds with meme fighters? Remember we had to fight Kutelaba twice? You know, when Kutelaba was like, "Oh, I'm rocks. Oh, I'm not." And then they had that fight. I think that fight was cancelled 2 more times before they finally fought. And then Ankalaev
Kutelaba just ruining Ankalaev's rise to the top was definitely a great moment. I think Johnny Walker has the scope to do it again, Joe, because I'll watch that fight again.
Yeah, I mean, from what we saw, I was a bit like, hold on a second. Ankalaev checking low kicks. You know, he was doing the thing of checking the low kick, bringing the leg up high, and then he would step further forward, and so he would disguise his step in through the leg, checking the leg kick, which was really well done. Johnny Walker, he did the thing I said. He was going to do the hip feint. He was going to throw the leg kicks. And then he did absolutely zero boxing because I think he realised that was not a good realm for him to get stuck into with Ankalaev. I still don't think this goes well for Johnny Walker after seeing this. You know, they're going like, he's so patient, but like...
But do you think Ankalaev should get a shot now at the belt off the back of something
like that? Of course not. What? Who's suggesting that? Get out of here. No. If anything, these two should fight each other again, but they've gone further down the rankings. Like, they should be like 10 and 12. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
What do you want from Johnny, Joe? He's been kneed in the head illegally, and you want to take his ranking away.
Listen, I'm going to say it right here. Those knees should not be illegal. I don't like that. I think it's bull. I think it's total bull, and I hate it. And I think they should be perfectly legal. And that's all I have to say on it. Happy to see this be a fight night main event. Shall we move on to something else on this card? Because there's not really much to say about this fight, is there?
There's not, no. But next up, we've got Ikram Aliskerov taking out Wally Alves in the first round by destruction. All manner of destruction. Just brutalised him, Joe.
Yeah.
Let me just walk you through that sequence. So, they are... I'm not going to say trading, but they're exchanging on the feet.
There wasn't much trade. I'll put it that way.
No. I mean, the trade got very uneven when Aliskerov sat Wally Alves down with a stiff jab. Wally scrambled to his feet, panic in his eyes. Aliskerov immediately pressed him back with a huge left high kick, which then pushed Alves back towards the cage, managed to block it, but still sent him flying backwards. And right there, he came charging in with a step-up knee. Straight up the middle, flush on the jaw. Good Lord.
Yeah, it was...
Alves then left in a world of trouble. I mean, I don't know how that didn't fold him, Joe.
Yeah, that was mad. I'm actually just watching the finish again now. Before he lands the jab that drops Alves, he lands a 1-2 up against the fence as well. So, and then he throws the jab, which drops him. He throws the knee, as you say, that huge step-up knee up against... he throws the high kick from the front leg, knee.
So setting back against the cage.
Yeah.
And then we have the step-in knee. And then we've got haymakers coming in.
Well,
Alves is scrambling for his life. And then a nice, clean jab that actually closes the show. I think... Alves' brain finally realised what had happened to it when that knee had landed. It had taken that time to process it, and he folded. It was brutal.
Do you know what was also the cleanest shot in that combo was this right uppercut he threw at the beginning of it that really snapped Alves' head back. That was dope. So yeah, sick finish, but he's beating a welterweight who hasn't fought a middleweight since 2014. So let's temper the expectations here. Aliskerov versus Paulo Costa. I'll have a bit of that. Costa's got staph infection his way out of a title contending fight, so off you fighting Aliskerov. Or are you having Imavov, maybe?
I think it was a strange matchup in the first place when Costa was due to fight Aliskerov. I just think Aliskerov's brand, of course, it's not quite there yet.
No.
Performances like this are going to help, but let me see you fight a name of some description. A Roman Dolidze,
Chris Curtis,
an Imavov. Yeah, maybe even a Curtis. I want to see a bit more brand built before you give him the juicy boy that is Paulo Costa. Paulo, you can make so many fun fights. Joe. Paulo Costa versus John Jones. Yeah.
John Jones. I thought I was going to say Robert
Paulo
Whittaker.
Costa versus... No, Joe. I'm saying that the scope for this man. Paulo Costa, Yuri Prochazka.
Oh, don't.
I mean, come on. There's so much you could do with him. So, Alex, have you got to earn that?
Right. Let's talk about Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. That'll be the last time we'll ever talk about him on this podcast, Gafurov. Yeah, I mean, he kind of got
Dreadful.
set up here. Yeah, I mean, he got set up here, didn't he? Unranked bantamweight who's lost his debut in the UFC, facing a ranked bantamweight who lost his last fight. Here you go, mate. Get a sub on this guy, and then off you go.
Well,
he literally dove into the guillotine.
Well, yeah, not only that, as it turns out, but Gafurov, who can't fight against the kicking Nurmagomedov, brutal. Man is left with no choice but to scramble and shoot for a takedown as quick as he possibly can because the man's got no striking offense. Oh, he's also got a sick guillotine that he locks up in an instant. Good night, son.
Yeah, I mean, we knew about Nurmagomedov's guillotine. We knew that he had that. We mentioned it on the preview.
I'm ashamed that I didn't pick that.
I know, same. This, by the way, even the position they were in leading up to it, where Gafurov's just like chasing after him, just like flinging these punches at him that are like nowhere near, and then Nurmagomedov sets his feet. He comes around and literally slides himself into a takedown. The guillotine arm comes up, and he's just like, "Oh, you're doing a guillotine? Let me put my head in there for you," and then he gets subbed. Rubbish. Never want to see him.
It was the definition. It was definition of that fella who's like, "Look, I'm going to beat him. I'll take you out. I'm just gonna. How are you gonna do it? I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna explode. I'm just gonna run through you. I just go mad, and then I see nothing, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's all Gafurov has to offer is willpower alone, and that's not gonna cut it at the top level of the UFC.
No, it's not. No, it is not. Right. Anything else you want to talk about from this card?
Well, I think we have to give a little nod to the prelims, at least follow up on our semi-homegrown star, budding star, Makhachev.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What did
interesting
you make
showing.
of this? What did you make of this? You still got issues
Joe,
with Makhachev, haven't you?
I mean, have all of your issues been resolved after this fight?
No, there's still not enough ground and pound. I just think that like flyweight, these guys are like so wriggly that it's hard for them to get those positions that you would get at a higher weight class. Like if you had Makhachev at middleweight, that second or third takedown, that guy's not going to be like exploding out in the same way that Tim Elliott is. He's not going to be like sliding his knees in, so he's got his feet onto your hips immediately. There was no real settled positions for Makhachev to get ground and pound off of. And then also when he did stand over him and threw a right hand down onto Tim Elliott, went straight into a triangle choke from there, almost like Elliott almost baited him. But cool slam in there as well off of that triangle, where Tim Elliott did say he did see a flash, so maybe it was close to like a little flash knockout. If he, yeah. So give it a bit more catch up on that one, Makhachev, and you might get a knockout next time.
I'll say Tim Elliott won that first round.
Yes, I agree.
And before we got to the submission, the third wasn't necessarily clear. So
yeah, again,
Makhachev,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, please, Joe. I mean, it was when he secured the position. We mentioned this in our preview. It is position over everything. He doesn't take risks to get that ground and pound off either. And that slow, suffocating pressure, it does build.
Yes.
And clearly culminated in that head and arm choke here.
Yeah.
In the third, once it was in, that was very clearly game over for Tim. But definitely unconvincing, for Makhachev. If you want to talk about him in the top bracket of the division, still need to see more, which is quite something to say when we've watched him submit 3 men in a row. Before the one decision win he did have over Charles Johnson, and of course entered the UFC with the submission victories, 5-0 in the UFC, 4 finishes. Yeah,
I know what you mean. If anything, he almost needs to have a loss. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he needs to have, when Sandhagen lost to Sterling, and it just changed his mentality. And then he went out there and he, like, you know, KO'd Moraes, KO'd Frankie Edgar, you know, and he had that fight with Dillashaw, which, you know, I had him winning. But, you know, he was a different sort of guy. He had, like, a different mentality going into fights. I feel like Makhachev is just not quite there, and I think that's part of the problem is he is really young. Like, people forget this about his age. Like, he is really young. He had a really dominant amateur career as well. I just wonder if he needs to have a loss in there, and that might be the real liberating thing for him.
I'm not sure, Joe. You know, the thing is, in these fights, we've also seen him take some pretty severe punishment. This wasn't any different here. Tim Elliott was on the right side of that rule about kneeing people to the head, you know, against grounded opponents. Managed to pull off some great knees there, some of them crushing ones that clearly stumbled Makhachev. Obviously, he took that severe injury to win that submission last time out. So, you know, Joe, he's been through the mill. My question would be, you know, in this next matchup, that's where we're going to see, can this man be the champion, and how long can he be the champion for? Because now we're looking at the top of the division. We're looking at Nicolau, Kai Kara France, Manel Cap, someone of that ilk. Do you have a preference in there? The test you want for Makhachev?
Yeah,
if he's able to answer. He could
I want to see Kara France versus Cap. Like, I really want to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing should get in the way of that.
Yeah, so Nicolau is the one for me if I was going to choose out of those three.
There is a bit of intrigue because we know that Brandon Royval will fight Pantoja, I believe.
Yeah, in December. Co-main event to Edwards Covington.
Now, Makhachev is out on tape saying that Royval's an absolute nonsense, not a top 5 fighter, and he'll run through him with no problems. Pantoja will find that an easy fight. He's out on tape saying that. He said that this week. Oh, yeah, like, Royval doesn't deserve to be there. Top 15 at best.
I don't know, man. I respect any fighter whose nickname is Raw Dog.
I think that could be a matchup we look at. If Royval isn't able to get past Pantoja, I think that could be a nice test for him.
Yeah, I like that. I think I would like it if the top contenders didn't have to go through Brandon Moreno. Like, I would like it if Moreno was in this position where, you know, like what Max Holloway's in now, where it's just like, you've had your title run. Let's give you some fun fights that you'll probably be favoured for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
So you're saying, like, in the way that Holloway didn't have to fight Topuria?
A little bit, yeah. Like, let's let some of these, like, top contenders go through. Like, you know, Kara France versus Cap. I don't need to see them face Moreno, but Mateus Nicolau.
The thing is, these guys, they're all out of reach. I think Moreno is out of reach for Makhachev in terms of what he can expect in his next fight. So,
for sure,
we shouldn't have to worry about that matchup for now.
No, I totally agree. Well,
Nicolau or Royval.
Ooh.
Anything else on the prelims you wanted to bring attention to?
You know what, Tom? I'm going to say no because I've not fully watched them. I came in at the Nathaniel Woods. Oh, Nathaniel Woods, Mohammed Naimov. Man, Woods, he was so close to winning that fight, but he just, like, it was the first round he got dropped off this right hook, and then Naimov, like, got into a ground of grappling and sort of, like, getting on top of him. Wood recovers, gets up, gets a beautiful trip from there, and then at the end he crushes him with this straight right hand, which was giving Naimov problems the whole fight. And then it was just like, oh my god, he's going to finish him, and then he got too close, he got into a clinch and then got taken down. And then at the end of the third, he was whooping Naimov. He was whooping him, like, and it could have been, the ref could have stopped it, but it got to the final buzzer, and then Naimov gets the decision win, just about having won the first and second round. Wood clearly won the third. You could have a bit of debate if he won the first, but I gave Naimov the first. That was really worth watching. Everything else on the prelims I need to get to. So listeners, I cannot give you good insight onto them. Tom, anything else from you?
No, Joe. Thanks for coming on tonight, and look forward to being on here with you again.
Man, the glow of this pay-per-view, it just feels so good. Listeners, I don't know if you've picked up on this, by the way. I'm still the champion. That's right. Another pay-per-view in the bag. I'm the champ again. That's 4 in a row. Your boy Tom is struggling. He's only got 2 more to go for this year. He has to win it back soon, otherwise he's screwed. He's screwed. And by the way, Tom, if I'm the champion going into the last pay-per-view of the year, I'm parking the bus. Yeah, I'm parking the bus. Okay, I'm taking that belt home. I've never won it for the year. I'm winning it this year. I've smoked you this year. I'm gloating at this point. I'm obviously going to fuck it up at the next pay-per-view. Right, let's wrap this up. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back maybe next week. Maybe I'll have a special guest next week to preview Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us what you think happened tonight at UFC 294. How did you score Usman versus Chimaev? Tom, I feel great having watched that and just spoken to you just after it. I feel a glow off of that pay-per-view. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
It's the 5 tins, Joe. That's what it is. But yeah, thanks to everyone, and see you again next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.